Daf Yomi Tractate Sanhedrin, page 16a, part 2. This is a long daf, or relatively long daf, at least for me anyway. So I split it into two parts. This is part 2, and I'm guessing it's like roughly half the Amud. I don't have the actual text of the Vilna Shas in front of me. I just have the Gemara and the English in front of me, and so I'm guessing it's probably half the daf. It's with the words Velo es Kohen Gadol Menohani Mili Amar Rav Ada Bar Ahava, and that's where we left off last night, or perhaps very early this morning. Anyway, the words are Velo es Kohen Gadol Menohani Mili Amar Rav Ada Bar Ahava de Amar Kra Kol Davar Gadol Yaviu Elecha Devarav Shel Gadol. The Mishnah teaches that the high priest may be judged only by the great Sanhedrin, consisting of 71 judges. The Gemara asks, from where is this matter derived? Rav Ada Bar Ahava says that the verse states, "They shall bring every great matter to you," Exodus 18:22. This means that Moses, or the great Sanhedrin with 71 judges, which served the parallel role to that of Moses, adjudicates all matters relating to a great one, meaning the high priest. Meisvei davar gadol davar kashe. Ata oimer davar kashe. Oyei no yela davar shel gadol. Kishu oimer as davar kashe yibin al Moshe as davar kashe amam. The Gemara raises an objection to this from a Braita. The verse states, "They shall bring every great matter to you," which is interpreted to mean that a difficult matter is judged by the great Sanhedrin. The Braita asks, do you say that the verse is actually referring to a difficult matter, or is it only referring to the matters relating to a great one? Meaning, I think, a great person. So it's a difficult matter or a very prestigious person, perhaps. Okay, anyway, the Braita answers, when it states in the verse that Moses implemented Yitro's advice, they brought the difficult matters to Moses, Exodus 18:26. A difficult matter is stated explicitly as Moses was following the directive of Yitro, his father-in-law. It is therefore apparent that the term great matter is referring to a difficult matter. Hu damar ki hai tane detanya davar gadol, davar shel gadol. Ata omer devarav shel gadol, o ena ela davar hakashe. Keshu omer davar hakashe, hare davar kashe amor. Ha ma'ani mekayim davar gadol, devarav shel gadol. The more answers. Rav Ada Bar Ahava states his opinion according to the opinion of that other Tana, as it is taught in a different Braita. The meaning great matter in the verse is matters relating to a great one. The Braita asks, do you say that it is referring to matters relating to a great one, or is it only referring to a difficult matter? The Braita explains, when it says further on, they brought the difficult matter to Moses, a difficult matter is stated. A great matter, a great person. How about that, right? Different notes that to great matter. Here we're talking, the ideas discussed in the daf today are great matter versus great person. Moshe Yitro. Here we go. Sanhedrin, 16a. Okay. All right. Do you say is referring to a great matter, a great one? Okay, so basically, Rav Ada Bar Ahava wants to come back and say that he's talking according to a different one that says that it could still mean a great person, meaning great matter in the verse matters relating to a great one. The Braita asks, do you say that it is referring to matters relating to a great one, or is it only relating to a difficult matter? The Braita explains, when it says further on, they brought the difficult matter to Moses, the difficult matter is stated. So how do I realize the meaning of great matter? It's referring to matters relating to a great one. Gadol, or kashe, my gadol, my kashe. This is an interesting point. The Gemara asks, and for this Tana, in the first brayta, who maintains that great matter and difficult matter referring to the same halacha, why do I need two verses to express the same idea? The Gemara answers, one is for the command in general, and one is to state the execution of the matter was carried out correctly. That the execution of the matter was carried out correctly. And why does the other Tana not accept this explanation? The Gemara explains, he would claim that if both verses were actually referring to the same thing, let it write either great one in one verse and great in the other, or difficult in one verse and difficult in the other. Why is that switching off of terminologies? What is the significance of writing great in one verse, and what is the significance of writing difficult in the other? Conclude two conclusions from it. One verse is referring to difficult matters, and one is to a great one. So it's really I can see why lawyers like to learn Talmud generally, and from what I've heard, lawyers love it, and it's focused on the meaning of every word and implications and connotations of every word. There's nothing missing. Here's a case where it's focused on that's generally how. Anyway, how the Gemara, it's darshaning every words, even letters. Okay, by Rav Elazar, Shower Shel Kohen Gadol B'Chama, Lemises Ba'alim Zidai B'Zamelei, Oidim Lemises Ba'alim Dama B'Zamelei, Amar Abayim, Min Degoman Ba'ali Shoyrei, Mechon Demayim B'Shidai. Rabbi Elazar asked, if the ox of a high priest killed a person, by how many judges is it sentenced? Do we compare it to a trial that could result in the death of its owner, the high priest, which would have to be judged by 71 judges, or perhaps we compare it to a trial that could result in the death of owners in general, which could be judged by 23 judges? Avaya said, since he asked the question only with regard to the high priest's ox, where there is a specific reason to say that its judicial proceedings should have the same halachot as those concerning its owner, by inference, it can be derived that it was obvious to him the court hearings related to the high priest's other property may be deliberated by an ordinary court. Pshita, isn't this obvious? Isn't it obvious? Why should it not be so? The Gemara answers, Abaya needed to clarify this, lest you say that since it writes every great matter, EGM, gem, every great matter. Wow. Gematria, every great matter. 203 is ger. Every great matter. Ger. Great matter. One might have thought that the verse is referring to all matters linked to a great one, meaning that in any case involving the high priest is adjudicated by the great Sanhedrin. Therefore, Abaya teaches us that this is not the halachi. Ein motziin. The Mishnah teaches that the king may bring the nation out to an optional war only on the basis of a court of 71 judges, meaning the great Sanhedrin. The Gemara asks, from where is this matter derived? Rabbi Abahu says, it is as the verse states with regard to the appointment of Joshua. And he shall stand before Elazar the priest, and he shall ask counsel of the Urim before the Lord. By his word they shall go out, and by his word they shall come in. He and all of the children of Israel with him, and all the congregation. Numbers 27:21. Who? זה מלך. וכל בני ישראל איתו זה משוח מלחמה. וכל העדה זה סנהדרי. I wonder why it says Sanhedrin. It doesn't have a nun there. Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin. Huh. Sanhedrin. It says Sanhedrin. It doesn't say Sanhedrin. I wonder why it does that. It's a good question. You know what can answer that? The Rama Gematria. Sanhedrin is 329. But Sanhedrin is 379. Wow. Rabbi Bahu analyzes the end of the verse with regard to the word he. This is the king, referring to Joshua, and to any other leader who brings the nation to war. With regard to the word him, in the verse, and all of the children of Israel with him. This is the priest anointed for war, who was anointed especially to stand and instruct the people before the war. See Deuteronomy 20, verse 2. And all of the congregation, this is the Sanhedrin. Consequently, the king can embark on an optional war only if the great Sanhedrin is present and grants authority to him. V'dilma Sanhedre hu dik'omar lehu rachmana. Dili shailu bi'umitumim. The Gemara challenges, but perhaps this mention of the Sanhedrin simply means that the merciful one says that Sanhedrin may ask a question of the Urim V'Tumim, as may the king or the priest anointed for war, as opposed to an ordinary person. But with regard to the decision to go to war, perhaps the king may do so without the agreement of the Sanhedrin. I remember this from Brachos, the violin or kinor, whatever, a lyre, basically. Not one who doesn't tell the truth, but an instrument, lyre, L-Y-R-E. Kevan shigia chatzois laila ruach tzifoin nismin ha-sheves boi v'hoim nayin olav miyad haya David oimer v'oisik b'toire ad shi'ala amad ha-shachar kevan shi'ala amad ha-shachar nichnesu chachmei Yisrael etzlo. Rather, the proof is like that which Rav Acha Bar Bizna says, that Reb Shimon Chasida says, a lyre, an instrument hung above King David's bed, and once midnight arrived, the northern midnight wind would blow on it and would cause the lyre to play on its own. David would immediately rise from his bed and study Torah until dawn arrived. Once dawn arrived, the sages of Israel would enter to advise him with regard to the various concerns of the nation and the economy. Amru lo Adonenu HaMelech Amcha Yisrael tzrichin leparnasa. Amar lahen lechu v'isparnasu ze mizeh. Amru lo ein hakometz masbia es hari ve'ein habor mismal michu liyaso. Amar lahen lechu pishtu yitchem v'gadut. One time they said to him, our master the king, your nation Israel requires sustenance. King David said to them, go and sustain one another, meaning provide each other with whatever is lacking. The sages said to him in response, citing a parable, a single handful of food does not satisfy a lion, and a cistern will not be filled merely from the rain that falls directly into his mouth. But other water must be channeled in, so too the nation cannot sustain itself using its own resources. King David then told them, go and take up arms with the troops in battle in order to expand our borders and provide our people with the opportunity to earn a livelihood. Miyad yotzin b'Achitofel v'nimlichin b'Sanhedrin v'shoalin b'urim v'tumim. Amar Rav Yosef Maikro. The sages immediately sought advice from Achitofel to determine whether or not it was appropriate to go to war at that time and how they should conduct themselves. And they consulted the Sanhedrin in order to receive the requisite permission to wage a war under those circumstances. And they asked the Urim Tumim whether or not they should go to war and whether or not they would be successful. Rav Yosef says, what is the verse from which this Agadah is derived?